Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the BNI Partners in Excellence show. My name is Andy, and I'm so excited to have with me today Anthony Serna with All Dry San Diego East and West. Is it San Diego East and West, or is it East and West San Diego?
East and South.
East and South. So I got it wrong on both. It's neither.
Yeah, I'm going to have to correct you.
That's okay. We'll make sure we edit. No, we're not. We're going to leave the gaffes in today. How about that? Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's good.
Well, thank you for joining me from the East and South.
East and South San Diego. Yes.
I'm gonna have to work really hard to remember that. I want to say East and West and North and South, East and South. So let's talk about a lot of things today. So first of all, you're kind of a newer member to BNI Partners in Excellence. Obviously, you got your own personal story. We did a wonderful one-to-one about a month and a half ago, and I want to talk more about what you guys are doing, what's working well, how we can help support you, but then also like your personal backstory. And you've had some really cool stories you shared with me when we had lunch, and I want everyone else to be able to benefit from those as well. So how does that sound?
That sounds great.
All right, let's start with kind of where we're at today. Let's talk about All Dry. What is All Dry? Give me kind of like the rundown. For anyone who doesn't know what All Dry does, let's just give them what it is.
Okay, so what All Dry is, we're a full-on mitigation company. So what we specialize is dealing with insurance companies, when people have big water losses at their houses. Properties. It can be at the property. It can be industrial. It doesn't matter. So we do full-on mitigation, fans, dehumidifiers. We do mold remediations. We do fire jobs.
There's got to be a mess.
Yeah.
Especially if they come and hose it, like the fire department there's like hosing it down.
Yeah.
Like it's got to be a wreck.
Yeah, definitely. And then if you want to get more specific in it, sewage jobs, a lot of feces
gross.
and stuff. Yeah.
Man, we're not even into the show 2 minutes yet. And you're like, little feces jobs.
Yeah.
Already grossing me out.
Yeah. A little background on me. I work for the #1 drain cleaning company. So I've seen bad sewage jobs. I'm talking about where we have rain boots on and we're walking, a few inches to a foot of it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm already having the same ick like when Michael Keith was on. He was talking about these like massive he was talking about these massive rats he was finding with this other guy, and he's like, oh, they're like the size of like small cats. I'm like, that's gross. And then he told me a story about this dude. One time he went to go do this inspection at this place to go like service it. He ended up telling the guy, I can't service it. The dude gets up like off the couch and like there's cockroaches coming out of his shirt, and he's just like, oh yeah, and they're like falling out. I was like, ugh, gross. Yeah. So good job, man. You beat him to the punch. This is the earliest in the show I felt gross.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I got plenty of stories that you'll
rain boots.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. How often is that? Is that like 1 out of 20, 1 out of 50? Like how many jobs are like that? That's the problem.
With that drain cleaning company, I say 5 out of 10.
Oh,
what?
Like
that. Yeah. A drain clean company, all they do is go to jobs with backups.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
I just don't stop long. Here's the deal. I don't stop long enough to think about it, so that's why I'm having this reaction like, bleh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And if you've seen the images I've seen, yeah.
No, that's not.
To me, it's nothing. It's like clockwork. I think we see money when we see that. That's how it is. I think Michael Keith's probably the same way when he sees rats.
Oh, there's what's the term? The honey wagon. That's the term, right? For the septic sewer tank room. What's it called? The septic sewage pump guys.
Yeah.
The honey wagon, I think they call it.
There's plenty of
honey makes money.
Yeah. Honey makes money.
Oh my gosh, sure. That's gross.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's change that topic. Tell me more about what you were doing before you got to All Dry.
Oh, so before I got to All Dry, I was working with that #1 drain clean company in the United States, and I was there for 8 years. And I was a field coordinator, so we would go out and pretty much coordinate everything, help people file claims for huge water losses at their property. Pretty much we would clean up all like the sewage, water, anything that was on the floor that was causing any kind of water damage and stuff. Yeah. Shut the water off to the house, file a claim, and then pretty much just get our depending who it is. So we were field coordinators, so most of the time we would beat our plumbers out to our jobs.
Oh, okay.
So when we would beat them out to the jobs, we would be able to identify, and this is where the experience comes in. If it was a slab leak or if it was something that we need a drain cleaner, it could be maybe they need some kind of redrain, which you know, we need excavation people to come out.
Yeah.
Maybe they need a camera to their water lines, and sometimes we would go there and there's nothing there for me. But obviously, if there was a lot of water damage, you know, I would help them file a claim.
Yeah.
Pretty much hold their hand on how to proceed with their insurance on this. And you know, a lot of people get confused or think it's a long, hard like process to file a claim. It's really fast. It takes like 15.
Well, that's not, so the filing the claim isn't the problem. Is it getting things approved? Is it the quoting process? Like, because there seems to be a stigma, like, let's call it what it is. Yeah. And I don't know if it's accurate or not, but there seems to be like this stigma, like, oh, this is going to be 3 months long or 5 months long. Again, depending on the severity of the problem, some are going to be longer jobs than others. Mm-hmm. What's the sticking point in the process? Is it the actual filing itself, or is it just waiting on the insurance company, or what is it? It
is filing the claim. And then obviously, you know, it just really depends on the adjuster, how fast they make the process.
Okay.
A lot of them are pretty good and on it. Every insurance company is different too. But it depends if you get a good adjuster or if you don't. That's definitely a big part of it.
You're like, I'll say it. Some of you all need to do a better job.
There is, I mean, you know, a lot of them. So we, like, in the last like month, we've had like maybe about 15 claims going on. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
A lot of them got pushed in within a week or two, like of getting it approved. Everything's good to go. There was one company, and I won't say no names, but there was one company. It took them a month and a half for the adjuster finally to get contact with them.
I mean, okay, so this whole time, even if it's like a week or two or a month in this case, like this is, you know, the family or the person who owns a house or the unit
owner.
Or whatever, the owner, like they may not have access to all their things necessarily, depending on the part of the property that's messed up. Like, what do people do, man? I mean, I've been in this situation once, like years ago before I knew you.
Yeah.
And it was really inconvenient.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. And I mean, it was during the shutdown, and so there's already all these weird, wacky rules anyways. But that notwithstanding, like, you know, I come downstairs and from the landing, I turn right and like, oh, that's weird. There's water coming from the fan. Wait a minute. There's water coming from the ceiling fan. That's not okay.
It was just a little weird, huh?
Oh, dude. It was the air conditioning condenser valve that did
condensation line.
Mm-hmm. And it had backed up in the sink and backed up all the way to its origin, was going down in the wall. So you couldn't see it. Yeah. It wasn't like coming out on the outside of the wall. It was actually in between the wall. It separated my wife's closet and our like toilet room. And it just like ended up bulging at the bottom. And at that point I was like, oh, what is that? That's weird. It's wet. Uh-oh, I have a problem. Next morning, boom, water coming down the ceiling fan.
Was it single stories or two story? Two story. So it was connected to the condensation line, or the condensation was connected to underneath the vanity inside one of the restrooms.
Yes, it was. Kitchen, right? Yeah. So it had like, attic, second story, first story.
Yeah.
It was real fun.
Yeah. And those houses, I mean, they build them all different, you know, and sometimes it leads straight outside, and most of the time it connects to a vanity.
I mean, what's the best thing? Is the outside? It seems like outside would be. Look, speaking from experience, I would love for it to have been outside.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's always good outside. But if you have a clog, so the reason why your condensation line gets clogged is because you're using it a lot
all the time.
During the summer. When you're not using it, that water dries up and it builds up this kind of like algae kind of a backup. It's pretty much a backed up drain in our eyes. So it pretty much, there's a couple ways of doing it. Some plumbers will just cut the pipe, put a new pipe in. Some people will blow it out with some kind of like air compressor or something, and it blows all the gunk out and stuff like that. But if it's going to get clogged, it's going to get clogged. So, and if it gets clogged, I mean, you have a pan. That pan can only take on so much water, so it's gonna cause some kind of damage.
Wow. You know? Well, that's encouraging. Thanks.
Yeah. Sorry to say that. But
okay, so we were talking. Sorry for the massive detour there. We were talking about adjusters and how sometimes they're really good and on it. Sometimes they take like a month. In this case, when you're not mentioning.
Yeah.
So I mean, what do you got? How can you can't really help people, right? At that point. Until I mean, you got your blowers out there, right? Or you're doing dry out and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, so we had our dehumidifier and air scrubber. Luckily, it wasn't like a huge loss. It was just, so their first point of contact for their drains was that one restroom. So what I mean by first point of contact, it's the first drain from the front of the house that goes into your house. And the toilet backed up and it flooded out that restroom. around the holidays, a lot of people push a lot of stuff because, you know, they're leaving, they're coming, family are coming. So a lot of people do prolong it. So honestly, it could sound like a nightmare, but you know, they wanted to have their Thanksgiving and didn't want work done. Now Christmas is coming around. They weren't rushing it, you know? So that's the thing. So what I had to do is send a bunch of emails to the adjuster, calling, leaving them voicemails and stuff like that. And then eventually we did escalate it by talking to the customer service rep to let their supervisor know that we've been trying to get a hold of them. Nobody's answering. The homeowner wasn't answering their phone very much. So there was a couple of times it was phone tag. And phone tag is probably one of the worst things that can happen during your claim, because if you don't, so here's some adjusters, you don't call them, they call you.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
it feels like that, you know? Yeah. So if you don't answer their call, eventually you're going to wait a couple more days before they actually get a hold of you. I think since the holidays are kind of like ending for them and they're going to be out of town, they kind of, cause here's the thing, I can only escalate it so much. The homeowner has more, you know, firepower to, you know, make this like keep going and
to escalate it and all that.
Yeah. So like I said, there's only so much I can do, but like I said, I don't think they were too worried about getting it done. So, that's one of them, but there's plenty of stories I can tell you.
It seems like every time I have a friend or family member or somebody who has a flood or some damage, like it always has a crazy story. It's never been like, oh yeah, they came in like the next day and they were done by Saturday. I've never heard one of those. You always hear, and I'm not sure how much of that is just over dramatizing and exaggerating, like, oh, and then the fans were there for like 4 months and like people like, you know, going like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much of that is going on versus it just never seems to be an easy fix. I mean, is there such a thing as easy fix in your line of work? If there is, what would it be?
Everything goes in segments.
Because you're like, you guys are called after there's a massive problem.
Yeah.
It's like, no one does anyone preemptively call? No one preemptively calls you, right?
No.
Like, I need flood prevention, please. Can you come over on Tuesday? Like, no one says that.
No. It's always an emergency, especially like during the rains. I mean, you can get a call at 2:00 in the morning, you know, because those rains are crazy.
Yeah.
And they're just pounding on your roof and just causing some kind of water damage, and then it starts seeping through, you know. And then obviously we all know, everybody in San Diego, how bad the rains can be.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Well, it's like, you know, when we get rain, we're not ready for it.
No.
And it's like, you'd think after season after season after season, like, hey, at some point we should probably address this. And then, you know, back at the beginning of 24, there was like that massive rain. I had a friend whose commercial place was completely mudded, like feet up the wall of mud. And they had several like millions of dollars of equipment, from like LED screens and production audiovisual equipment. And I mean, trucks, vans, trailers. It was a absolute disaster, and it's because of that the city thing. It was what's it called? The like some city pump or something that wasn't on.
It was a pump.
There was some pump that wasn't on, or was broken, or wasn't like maintained properly.
Yeah.
So when it was supposed to do its job, when it was like that heavy downpour, it didn't happen, and all these businesses were just.
Was this near the beach?
No, this was over in like the National City area.
Yeah,
I mean, it's technically San Diego, but it's over by the naval base off the 5 freeway.
Okay,
it was crazy.
Well, yeah, anything closer to the shorelines, sometimes you have sump pumps, and those sump pumps.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, what a sump pump does is it pushes all the sewage out to the street.
Well,
you know?
it's not like on the coast, but it's right there by the 5, in National City, which you can kind of see the water because you got the Navy base and all that like real close by.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
it's right around the mile of cars kind of area right there. But anyhow.
Yeah. No.
So rain is a big problem.
It is a big problem, and here's the thing: California, it's a sunshine state. Not a lot of people get coverage for flooding, and what flooding coverage covers is anything from rain. Or even like outside water coming in, you know, but a lot of people don't get, that kind of policy or any kind of add-ons like that. So
I honestly think that's what I have here with Ramses is inland marine. Is that what it's called? Inland marine? That's one of them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I have inland marine here because of our equipment, and it's like, if there's water damage here, all my equipment and stuff can be replaced.
Yeah. And look at your policy. Look
Ramses Hernandez, you are on the clock. We're looking at you, dude.
Yeah. You want to make sure you have personal property coverage.
Yeah.
A good amount of it, especially with like high tech equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you guys are gone for the weekend. It happens on a Friday, the rain. You know, all this moisture comes in here.
It's always when it happens, man. It happens when you're not there, when you're sleeping, you're gone out of town, you come back, and you're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these electronics are just going to, slowly soak up, condensate and stuff like that. You don't know what's going to happen with your stuff.
So let's talk about like all dry. So it's very clear that, all dry east and south. All dry east and south is a territory kind of makeup. So is it's a franchise or what's the situation?
Yes, so we're a franchise. So there's 3 in San Diego now. There's a North County. There's a regular San Diego, kind of does the downtown kind of up the coast.
Mm-hmm.
And then us, we're east and south.
Yeah.
But we definitely go wherever our clients take us.
Yeah.
Like we're not allowed to market out or network outside of our territory.
Right.
But obviously, if we have somebody in our territory that gives us a job in like Escondido,
but they can still refer you outside. Okay, so that's important to know because while you're marketing within one territory or region, you can be referred outside of that region. Is that correct?
Definitely.
Okay, so I want to make sure we covered that because first of all, I don't think most people will know that you are kind of bound to a certain space, but that doesn't bind you for being referred outside that space.
Oh, definitely.
And so especially in the context of, referability and networking, I just want to make sure that's super clear.
Yeah, because we have a franchise in Oceanside, and our plumbers always call us. So our main source of income from somebody is a plumber.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we get referred out from a plumber, it's usually they get calls for the water damage, the leaks and stuff like that. So they get called to go out there and fix it. Sometimes our plumbers, we have a good relationship where they know what to say and talk to them, tell them, hey, you got a lot of water damage. You should have at least somebody come check it out and give you some kind of recommendation on what needs to be done. And what I do is I go out there and I have to look at everything in a whole. Like, hey, what's your deductible? Your deductible goes to 500. You can have 500, 1,000, 2,500, 5,000. It can be a percentage of your dwelling. Say your dwelling's like 800,000. It could be 0.5%. It could be a full percent. It just really depends. But you want to make sure those, like if you go through your insurance, you want to make sure those damages exceed your deductible.
Yeah, and well beyond in most cases, right?
Yeah. And here's the thing too. If your flooring's like 4 years old, or older, the chances of finding it,
slim to none.
It's slim to none,
Yeah.
And there is ways to find it, like ITAL and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
that was our situation. That's why I'm like laughing. I'm like laughing / half scoffing. Like, yeah, slim to none. Yeah. Our floors does not match at all.
Yeah.
It's not even close, bro.
What kind of flooring was it? Laminate?
It was, it's wood laminate. And now I have like this, gray, laminate, but it's not even the same. It's not even the same. So the threshold is terrible. Like we're gonna have to fix this later.
So they stopped at the breaks of your doors
at the hallway because it's like the separation for the master bedroom into the bath. It's like a hallway with the closet into the restroom area, and so the water had been basically going down, but then it had been going out for like probably about 24 hours, honestly, because I didn't see it.
Yeah.
But it was going into the hallway where our closets are, and I was like, no. So we had to like cut at that part, and it kind of looks like this color. Like the color of our floor here. Got it. But like the other rest of my room is like wood, like natural wood color. Like this looks like we're gonna have to do this again later.
Wow.
So redo that later.
Yeah,
because it's old. Yeah. That's just the way it is. The flooring's been there for way longer than 4 years.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes the insurance doesn't tell you. They should replace it continuously. And honestly, your house has to be brand new or like new. So like if you really wanted to, you could probably fought them and then finally got it. Replaced continuously.
That's crazy because there's 4 bedrooms upstairs and there's no break in between those. It's all one massive. Yeah. There's no like thresholds and this room has carpet and that one has top. Nope. It's all.
It's all the same flooring.
The whole thing. Yep.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that goes with it. Like say you have a bunch of furniture. Everybody has different lifestyles. Yeah. Some people have a little bit of belongings. You can easily move, and get it replaced. Some people have their whole rooms and closets filled to the brim. We run into a lot of hoarders.
Wow.
The insurance.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
I mean, there's people, like I said, everybody has different lifestyles. I'm not here to judge anybody. We're just here to help out the customer. But yeah, say there's, rodents or like, roaches, anything like that. The insurance can't deny you off your lifestyle. So say if the flooring's like, I've had it where hoarders had dogs, with, feces everywhere on carpet and stuff like that. And their whole downstairs was carpet. They can't deny you for your lifestyle. You still had a sudden accidental backup. They got to still cover it. And then we just have to go a little extra. Suits, PPE, masks.
I was gonna say, you guys gotta be careful because of contamination, right? Like all the time. And even maybe something that doesn't seem as gross on the surface. It could be something like mold. It could be a massive issue, I can imagine. Depending on how long the water's been there, or what you find when you peel back that drywall and what's behind all that. Like,
you don't know until you start removing. That's for sure.
Man.
Yeah, believe me.
Did you break a lot of things when you were a kid? Were you taking things apart when you were a kid? Like, someday when I'm an adult, I'm going to tear walls down.
You know what? No, I wasn't a destructive kid.
Oh, no?
I was actually a good, quiet kid. Yeah.
So no, it's just now that we're breaking things.
Yeah, I think I started getting into it after. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, like I said, they can't deny you off your lifestyle. Like I said, if there's rodents, you just got to go the extra mile and then take that necessary precaution. I put it this way, like we did a job. This was probably like 6 years ago. It was a sewage loss, but we waited. It took like about 2 weeks to get it approved. Once it got approved, we were good, but everything was dry, right? So we're over there, we're doing demo, we're chalk lining walls, we're cutting walls, removing flooring. Everything's dry. Like I said, there was no more sewage. We cleaned it up. We antimicrobial the floors and everything, but we're doing demo. I get home, I'm about to go hop in the shower because, I got drywall dust and all kinds of stuff on me. And I was like, man, my leg feels really tight. So I lift up my pant leg, and my leg was 2 times its size.
What?
Yeah. So because it was a sewage loss, I had a microabrasion. I didn't have no cuts or anything. The doctor's like, yeah, you got a microabrasion. You can't really see it, but you're just going to need to take antibiotics, because I told him the line of work I did and what I did today. And he was like, yeah, you got an infection. So
no way.
Yeah. So
in your knee?
Mm-hmm. So after that,
an infection in my knees will put me in the hospital in 2017. But continue.
But yeah, after that, I never stopped wearing knee pads. You're on your knees and stuff like that. But when you're a little younger, you kind of do whatever you want.
Okay, you didn't share that story the first time we sat down. I didn't know that, so I didn't know that we had that somewhat in common. Like. Yeah. Knee 2 sizes at the time because of infection. That landed me in the hospital for 12 days, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And that's why, like, after that, a lot of my guys, I tell them, like, hey, wear some gloves.
Yeah. You don't need to risk it. What's the upside to risking it?
Yeah, there's no upside, But yeah, when we're removing carpet, there's tack strips. Those tack strips. Yeah. I don't know if you ever know what a tack strip is.
I do. My first job was in carpet cleaning, and we used to do carpet stretching. So with the kicker.
Yep.
Oh, I've put my hand on those. I've leaned on them before. I hate tack strips.
Yeah. Definitely.
I love them because they look great. I hate them.
Yeah. So like when you do a sewage job, you got to remove the carpet. You got to remove the padding. You got to remove the tack strips because it's contaminant.
It's wood.
Yeah. So, once that water gets into the tack strips and stuff like that, it takes one little prick, one little prick.
Those are really uncomfortable. It only took like once or twice. I'm like, okay, I got to be more cautious. And I was like young. I was in like high school, and I work with this guy I knew. I had a steam cleaning company. Yeah. And so in the summer I'd work with him. But it's summer in San Diego. It's already 90, 95 degrees, and I'm the one schlepping the hot hose and doing the hard, not the hard work. I was doing the grunt work because I was the younger guy, I'm a snot-nosed kid at that time. And, get down there and pull that up, push that in, hammer that down. Yeah, I had my fair share of pokes and stabs.
So you used to be a little blue-collared back in the day, huh?
Oh, dude, my first job kind of was in tandem was steam cleaning. Yeah. And also I worked at the KOA off the 54 freeway.
Oh, nice.
So our friends, the Bells, owned the KOA, and all of us in high school, we get like jobs there in the summer. But my job was janitorial services. So I'm spraying down contamination in the public showers when people don't make it to the bathroom in time. And they just happen to be in the shower. But every once in a while, someone will leave like a ring or a watch or something in there. You're like, oh, you left a mess and your valuables. Yeah. We'll go ahead and put that into the front store, and let's just see who walks in to collect their things.
Yeah.
And you know who the culprit was who left you your nice surprise. You have to spray. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole process.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, and, you know, doing all that kind of stuff, dude. Taking out the trash, everything you can imagine, plunging toilets, cleaning men's rooms, cleaning women's rooms, cleaning everything.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll go on about that later on because, I know about...
this is now going to be the gross show. The grossest show you've ever heard.
Yeah, definitely. I'll keep a tight lip. We'll talk about it later.
So you guys, so basically every day in and out, or day in, day out, you guys are just constantly fixing problems for people.
Yep.
You know, there's got to be a sense of gratification, something more than the paycheck that motivates you. Like why do you continue to get up every day knowing what you're going to face and what you're going to encounter? What keeps you motivated to do all that?
We're helping people in need, honestly. And I think that's why I love it so much. Like I said, you know, everybody has different situations. I've done jobs so the most happiest people when you get done with a job are sometimes hoarders. You should see the change on their faces. It's different. Not even that, but if they had dogs, you've seen they leave for a couple of weeks and then they come back. Their dog's like doing circles like the happiest dog in the world because how bad it was, and then now it's clean. You know, so little things like that, and then lower income families. Nobody has 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, you know, sometimes it can be 50,000 to fix up the whole house if it was a major flood. So some of those people are some of the happiest people when you get them covered through their insurance, because it's very heartbreaking for them. You know, that's their home. Sometimes it could be, you know, handed generation to generation, you know, and sometimes it could be a blessing in disguise for some people. Some people can be in a hard place at the time, and then all of a sudden it kind of just, you know, kick starts them on something new, on a new path. But
so even in my short time I've known you, though, I feel like that characteristic you're describing kind of has been with you, because you've told me some other stories too, like that are in general the same common denominators, like helping people, giving a hand out, giving them a hand up in their situation, being of great purpose and great use, regardless of how dirty or difficult the job was. I mean, I even recognize that when you were talking about the lengths at which you'll go for your kids, even like to be there, to support them, to show up, to be present, like that all, it comes from the same place. Like, what do you think, where do you think that all started for you? Is there a significant point in your life where you're like, oh my gosh, I want to always make sure I'm doing something with great purpose, or what's that all about?
Yeah. So, I grew up in Fontana, California, you know, low income. Last 2 years of high school, I lived on my own. I paid rent, you know, and I actually did graduate high school. So, you know, I got a big heart for like low income families and stuff like that, because, you know, I've been through that situation, or people going through a rough time, you know. So I think that's where it all comes from, you know. I have a lot of family we're in San Bernardino County, so one of the worst counties in the United States, you know. So
just some rough characteristics there.
Yeah, definitely. And I've seen really bad situations, you know, growing up. So, you know, I got a big heart, you know, I got 3 kids, you know, and I just try to do as good of a job and help as many people as I can, you know. But, yeah, I would say it would just come from my background, you know, growing up. The reason why I like to help people and I like to motivate too when it comes to like my employees and stuff like that. Because I knew how it was to be a technician and be, you know, that blue collar kind of a guy. And I always tell guys, strive to be the best, you know, because that's what it's about, to motivate individuals. And, you know, you can take it wherever you want, to another company, you know, you can grow with us, but, you know, I want you to learn and just soak up like a sponge.
But so when you mentioned like being your best, that also has like an element of competitiveness to it as well.
Definitely.
Because sometimes it's like, oh yeah, it could be me versus the other guy, or me versus my competitor, but sometimes it's just you versus you. Like, do you do you think that for yourself, it's mostly you versus you, or is it you versus your past? Is it you versus what?
I would say it would be you versus you.
Mm-hmm.
And how should I say it? It's just, I think my kids got a big reason why I work so hard and try to do my best, because without them, I don't know how, like, if I would be working as hard as I am, so I want to make some kind of like generational wealth for my children, to leave them, because I never had that, growing up. So I want to leave something for them, to fall back on, because like I said, I had everything from the ground up. I had to do myself.
Yeah.
From working after high school, working at Del Taco, working the Home Depot warehouse, to finally finding a career in plumbing, which I did for a few years, and then I fell into the restoration industry, and I just seen the sky was the limit from there. And I'll let you know right now, like, when I was young, I was dumb. I didn't know anything. I feel like.
You mean, wait, hold on. Dumb's too broad of a.
Yeah.
That's a broad stroke. Like, you're clearly not dumb.
Yeah.
You mean like you were just immature? Like, I was immature too. I made some dumb choices. And that, like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I just had a different mindset. Maybe it's because where I grew up, it was really hard to get out with friends and family. I mean, believe me, because I grew up with a lot of guys too. Like, their situation, their families, grew up in the neighborhood. Mom, dad, sisters, brothers, and it's like stuck in the mud. It's very hard.
They don't escape it.
No, that's all It's very hard to get out that situation. I guess I had a better head on my shoulder. But yeah, some of those guys, like I said, like some friends and family members, it was just really hard for them to get out of that situation.
So how did you do it?
I think it was my daughter, my first daughter. Yeah. I mean, it was, I didn't know how to be a dad. I didn't know anything how to be a dad. And once you get that girl, you're not a real dad until you have a girl.
Shots fired to all you boy dads.
Yeah.
There's a lot of boy dads here in our group and our audience. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's
boy dads. Listen up.
It's different. The love is different. If anybody, when it comes to my daughters, like, if anybody can take care of me when, I'm bedridden and stuff like that, it's going to be my daughters, for sure. It's a different, genuine love.
Daughters are special, huh?
Oh, they're very special.
Yeah, there's a daughter of mine producing this exact show right now off camera. So kudos, daughter. Yeah, daughters are great.
Yeah, definitely.
It's all I have, by the way.
Yeah,
girls only. It's all girls all the time.
Oh, see, So
it's all girls all the time, man. I don't have a son.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
And our boy dog is barely a dog. He's the size of our cat, so he's a tiny little guy.
Well, there's your boy right
there.
Yeah,
our big dog is also a girl. Big dog, girl. Small dog, boy.
And I do have a son. He's 5. Boys are different, for sure. A lot more easier than girls.
So how old were you when your daughter was born?
I was 21, almost 22.
Whoo!
Yeah.
All right. So that catapulted what? Did you like wake up one day and you're like, boom, new perspective, or like was there a circumstance that made you start looking at everything different? Like,
no, I had
awareness was risen. What happened?
No, it took time. It took a lot of time. When I used to, so like I always had this sense of like trying to elevate myself in some kind of career wherever I went. It could have been Del Taco right after high school. It could have been, I worked at a debt collection company. I was in the mail room, but when you start hitting walls at those kind of places, it's kind of, it brings you down, and you want to keep ascending, it's hard to ascend at those kind of places, even though you can. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
You can't. When I got to Home Depot, I was over there, in Home Depot, the warehouse, it was RDC. They do give you a lot of teaching, like how to become something, and I was in a, what was it? I had a supervisor that wanted to put, use me as his, I forgot how you say it, like an assessor, like a, like you're my prodigy, you know,
Yeah.
like, and every supervisor,
Like an apprentice, you mean?
GM, yeah,
Yeah.
like an apprentice or
Okay.
somebody like, you know, that watches over you and,
Yeah.
and shows you how to excel and stuff. So, I had a supervisor that, you know, picked me. So, we would come like an hour before, like every once a week, we would come an hour before our shift started, and we would, they would talk to us, give us speeches on how to like grow into the company and stuff.
Like mentoring.
Yeah, mentoring. There you go.
Wow. And this is while you're with Home Depot?
Yeah, I was at Home Depot.
So who is this?
His name was man, it was so long ago. I think his name was Josh. You know, sorry, I'm bad with names.
No, it's okay. No, it's fine. But
yeah.
this person, they clearly made an impact on you.
Yeah, definitely. You know, because and one advice he gave me is like, you know, closed mouths don't get fed. Like if you want to grow, you need to fight for it. I'm like, oh, okay. I was very quiet, you know, and stuff like that. And I didn't know how to, you know, I never had any like father figure in my life to actually like show me like the steps to do it.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, honestly, like he showed me a good way. When I finally left there, you know, my friend was like, hey man, you need to get into a career. He said, you know, come with me to this, come to my company. You know, we have laborers that we're looking for and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, you know, because he was making big bucks, man. My friend was making some big bucks, so I'm like, okay, yeah, I got to do this for the family. I can't I can't be just check to check and stuff like that. And I've always been the breadwinner. You know, my ex never worked or anything like that. So eventually, you know, went over there. I learned a lot of plumbing. It was a lot of hard work. I'm talking about excavation, digging a lot of trenches.
Trenching.
Yeah, cutting walls and repiping the houses and stuff like that.
Whenever I hear repipe, a part of my heart dies. I'm like, that I don't know anything about it. It just sounds like, oh, we're doing the whole thing over again, but all the walls are in the way.
Yeah,
that to me, I'm out. Because someone else can please do this.
Yeah. So
Dang.
you had a whole repipe on your house, huh?
No, I just hate hearing it.
Oh,
it's just one of those things like, you know, people are like nails on the chalkboard. It makes me cringe. Someone says repipe. I'm like, I'm
If you
dying.
don't like repipes, you're not gonna like liners.
No, what's that?
That's a epoxy line that they.
Inside yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a big giant sock, and they dip it in some kind of liquid, and then they shoot the liner, and then the liner hardens. It pretty much just recoats your drain lines.
Yeah, from the inside.
Yeah. Old houses need them because all the old houses are not made out of ABS; they're all cast iron.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of corrosion and what happens.
Man.
Even the seismic activity in the earth. Sometimes you create valleys. Sometimes the roots grow in and create just a big clog, and then you just have a major problem. You know, and a lot of people. I mean, you know, if you want to maintain your home, number one things to maintain your home are plumbing.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't fix the plumbing, it's just going to be a Band-Aid. Like you can jet it.
Yeah.
You know, you can jet it. You can descale the line.
You know, you're right. You're saying something I guess I never really had thought of. Like, I'm 45 years old. Like just thinking about this now, it's like that usually is the most catastrophic element of a disaster in a house is plumbing.
Yep.
It's rare to have a house fire. And if you do have a house fire, guess what? The water becomes the next problem.
Yeah.
If whatever burned down is burned down. But then the water to put the fire out becomes the next problem. It is usually the most catastrophic. It's not the earthquake or anything else like that. It's not hurricanes in California, at least. And so, yeah.
Yeah. So fire jobs initially are water jobs because, you know, put out a fire. What do?
Yeah.
You know, the fire department comes in there, kicks in your window.
Yeah.
You know, gets in a certain way and just hoses down all the fire.
I want to say about 6 or 7, 2016, a house in our old neighborhood, they had a garage fire. Yeah. And by the time the fire trucks got there, the roof had started to collapse in the garage and they were just hosing the house. And it was a single story house. Yeah. And so there was nowhere else for the fire to go up and it just went out. And they end up having to rebuild that entire house.
Yeah.
But because not just in the fire in the garage in the front of the house, but all the water damage from the rest of it. They're like, this is an entire complete teardown. And it sat there uninhabited for, I want to say 18 to 24 months.
Yeah.
It took forever.
Yeah.
And like 8 or 9 of those months, it was just char and caution tape.
Just
there
sitting
was
there.
not a person. There was no work being done. There was no demo being done. It was just, this is staying here this way until we get to it. It was just in line, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, and coming back to what you're saying, but yeah, it's not just the plumbing; it's electrical. That's another thing. If you have an old house, you should update your electrical. I'm talking about, because that's what happens on most fires.
Yeah,
it's electrical. You know, it's electrical fire. You know, so if you have if you have an old house, you see blinking from your lights every once in a while. Just little things like that.
Just little hints, right?
Oh yeah, it's showing you like, hey, you know, something's wrong with electrical.
Yeah.
Your breakers pop all the time from just plugging in a fan or something. Like, you know, you should for old houses. The newer houses, they're not that bad, but like I said, it just takes one tract of homes, one electrician or one plumber that builds a whole tract of homes to mess up a whole tract of homes, because on the newer houses too, like honestly, the older houses, they tend to hold up a little bit better than the new houses these days. That's their plumbing. Like I said, it takes one plumber to really mess up a whole tract of homes. and it's funny because say your house is like 20 years old, you know, once you start seeing storage pods at people's houses, it's a trend. You see one storage pod. Oh yeah,
it's like bound to happen. Yeah.
It can be plumbing, it can be, you know, drains, but you start to see a trend, and then, you know, you hear murmurs around your neighborhood. Oh yeah, he had a burst pipe.
Yep.
Oh, he just had a burst pipe.
I've heard this. And sometimes it's I'm gonna say it. Sometimes it's the builder, it's the developer themselves. Like, oh, they used a cheap part for this, and they used it on every house.
Yeah.
And it's just bound to happen now for the next one, and
yeah. And when they build these houses like on slab, they're using soft copper, you know, and they're not over here bending it with a tool. Sometimes it's a big old sprawl, and they're just like, you know, they're just laying it out.
What do you mean they're shortcutting craftsmanship, Anthony?
You know.
I want to go back to you. We got back on that, but you had been talking about when you were digging ditches and you're doing repipes, and I took us off course. I was like, oh, repipe.
Yeah.
But you were talking about when you were young, you had a friend. He said, come join me at this company. He was making good money, and so that kind of drew you in that new direction.
Yeah.
So, you know, first of all, how long ago was that?
Oh, 13 years ago. We'll say about 12. Yeah, a good 12 years ago. So it was a smaller company, you know. It was about like 3 or 4 trucks. And we used to do the restoration on the side too. But I was always doing the plumbing as labor. But I would help out on the restoration side when it was slow. But long story short, they ended up, you know, getting really slow, where it was like there was no work coming in, you know. And that's the problem with the smaller companies, you know. If it gets slow, it can get really slow and scary, you know. So I went to ServPro, which is the number one restoration company for insurance companies. Okay. And I was there for about a year. It was a franchise, and I was there for a year. The homeowner, the owner of the company, kind of, I had to get away from there really fast. It wasn't that great. Not all ServPros are bad. I'm not gonna lie.
Understood.
Some, you know, they're all franchises.
Yeah.
Some of them are really great. You know, some of them, you know, are smaller companies. And,
yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, the pros there is I learned a lot of the assurance aspect of everything. You know, what we learned is like, hey, you know, just go over there, take pictures. You know, just take moisture readings, and then write a report of what your findings are, if there's mold, this and that, and then send the report over to the adjuster. You know, and we did that a lot of the times, and we would get them signed like, hey, here, sign, you know, we're going to drop equipment and stuff like that. So we would drop equipment, and then all of a sudden we would find them get denied, right? Because they signed that work authorization, even though they weren't approved, once they got denied, the company's charging that homeowner for that equipment being there, and without even work being done sometimes. And, you know, a lot of
yeah.
It sounds like maybe you ran into
No,
that.
I know. I get it.
Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things, and I didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't like that because we're charging people ridiculous amounts for really not doing nothing. Sometimes just dropping equipment, it could be like up to 1,000. It can be sometimes like 5,000,
Right.
And sometimes, you sucked up the water and you dried it out. Oh, they got denied. Oh, but we still dried it out and everything's good now.
There's still some relative cost or expense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it.
But
it's when someone takes advantage of that's the problem.
Yeah. Well,
right? Cause you got to get in there and do some remediation and some mitigation like right away. Yeah. You gotta vacuum out the water. You got to put some blowers in or whatever. Yeah. But then, if you've been in this business a long time, this is my suspicion. If you've been in this business a long time and you know where you can work some angles to your benefit, some people will take advantage of that. Some people won't. Most people won't, I'm sure. But some people will, and that can put a black eye on an industry.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you're feeling it as a technician because you're hearing it like from the homeowner, like, when everything's all done, because sometimes you build a relationship with the homeowners because you're scheduling.
You're in their home.
Yeah. You're coming in and out. And then all of a sudden you get a call from, Joe, like, hey, you guys sent me a bill for like $5,000. Like, what's going on? Like, and you're the one hearing it, not the owners or anything like that, So I didn't really like that. So I had a friend that worked at the same one that got me into the industry. Mm-hmm. He went to another company. It's called Cut and Dry in Rancho Cucamonga. Mm-hmm. Shout outs to Garrett and Eric out there.
Cool.
We were like I think we had like 4 to 5 trucks. Mm-hmm. They had a plumbing side and a restoration side. And I went to the restoration side because they had an opening, I was like, okay, I'm trying to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Let me jump over here. Maybe I'll go to the plumbing side after.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, I ended up sticking over there because, there was benefits, you get bonuses for going out to late night jobs and signing them up and stuff like that. And we were more for the homeowners at that company. So it was a lot more easier. I could feel like I could sleep at night.
It seems like that's more your speed.
Yeah, definitely. We started off like 4 to 5 trucks. Right now, that company is really, really big.
Really?
Yeah. They and then, like I said, my friend, Garrett, Eric, one of them was the manager and one of them was a technician like me. Mm-hmm. Now they're, pretty much the GM, the GM and also the mitigation managers and stuff like that. So shout outs to them. They showed me a lot, in this industry too. Sometimes the Eric, he was the manager at the time. I thought he would just get on us and stuff like that. You don't take active criticism very well at a young age like that. But I've seen him at the bars and stuff like that. And I would tell him like, man, you made me who I was, like who I am right now.
Yeah.
Before, I would always be like, man, he's getting on me.
Sure. Kind of on top of me, man. Why are you riding me so hard? But then you're like, hey, you know what? Maybe he said some things that were useful and helped me out. Now that I can look back at that, separate from you and be like, oh, you know what? He might've been telling me that over there. So I would know that over here. Yeah.
So that's what I tell a lot of technicians, like, hey, you gotta learn how to take active criticism. Good. Mm-hmm. I might tell you, hey, you're messing up. That's not how you do it. Don't get butthurt about it.
Hansel was telling me the same thing. So when we did the show with Hansel, he was talking about how his uncle brought him in when he was a young man. Yeah. And his uncle just beat me up over the head, like, dude, this, that, do this, that. Save your money here. Don't be da. And he's like, I didn't listen to any of that stuff. And now I'm like, I should have listened to that stuff.
It's like holding the flashlight for your dad, under the car.
Yeah.
So like I said, you learn off those kind of experiences, throughout your years. So I was at Cut and Dry, and it was already kind of set in stone, the guys that were moving up, because I was kind of newer. Even though I learned a lot and I was kind of, starting to grow with them, I was like, man, let me go find a company and see if I can extend somewhere else. Yeah. And I was like, let me look for like some huge companies. Right. So, then I applied for Roto-Rooter. It's the #1 drain clean company. Mm-hmm. That was the one that I applied for. And they had a mitigation department, which is really, we were like, what? They have a mitigation department. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll go try over there, did a couple walkthroughs with some people, before I actually got an offer letter and actually accepted it. And I liked what I saw, it was the same thing at Cut and Dry. So the first 2 years, it was good on and off, depending on the managers and people coming in and out and stuff like that.
Personnel and all that.
Yeah. So, eventually we got, bought out by corporate, Roto-Rooter corporate, because, and they bought like a lot of the Southwest region of the United States. They bought them all back. And then that's when I actually, we had, corporate people come down and, we were starting to get dismantled at that time on the mitigation side. So it was kind of like, there was only like 4 of us and we're like, well, corporate's coming down.
Yeah.
So they told us like, everybody's going to be put on percentage. Everybody was so scared.
Yeah.
Everybody left. I was the last one.
Oh man, really?
Yeah. Everybody left. I was the last one. So when corporate finally did come down, we had a big old meeting.
Yeah.
So, I was scared about my future, like what's going on, so I go up to he was going to be the GM, for the Inland Empire and the OC. And he was moving down from Cincinnati, corporate to come down and pretty much, grow the branch. And, when he came down, I had I pulled him aside like, hey, wanted to see what kind of like, what kind of ideas do you have for the mitigation side? And he was like, oh, good. He said, if you don't know, on the mitigation departments for the other branches, we're making more than the plumbing side. I'm like, what? I'm like, that's crazy. They're like, yeah. And I was like, he was like, yeah, let's go talk. We went, he was like, show me all the stuff that you got, all the trucks and everything. So I take him into the cage and he just sees all this equipment, which wasn't being used. Just sitting, all these dehumidifiers. I'm talking about like 20 dehumidifiers, 20 air scrubbers, about 100 fans. And he's just looking like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah. Like all this could be working and generating revenue.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. A fan a day is $25.
Yeah.
You got 100 sitting there.
Yeah.
A dehumidifier and air scrubber around 75 to 85.
Yeah.
A day.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting there. And he just looks at me. He's like, Anthony, he's like, we got some big plans for you.
Wow.
And I stayed and it was probably the best decision I ever made.
Wow.
We went from me only to having 6 trucks on the field and about like 18 employees.
Wow.
And I got offered to go to apply for the mitigation manager. I was interim manager a few times during that growth period, but I was making so much money on the being the field coordinator, and it was such an easy job. I kind of felt like I worked for myself. I was driving my personal, and I was just going job to job, just getting people signed up, for to get the mitigation done, So I was there for a while, and then corporate, everything started changing and stuff like that. Yeah. So, and then that's when I applied for the manager position over here, and I was like, you know what, I got to shoot for a manager position. This mitigation field coordinator is probably not going to work out for a long term. I need to probably get into a manager role and then start with a company, that, we can grow and expand. Yeah. So that's why I'm here now.
So what would you say? So what would you say is something that you attribute your, I'll say, professional success to? What's something you think of that like has helped cause the outcome of being, let's say, successful, whether that's operationally or financially or freedom wise? What would you attribute to that to?
The experience, being a technician and being out in their field, there's a lot of liability, especially being in California. Everything's liability. When you work for like the number one drain clean company that I was working for, there was a lot of like, you touch it, you own it. So if you go into a job and say the plumber, so here's the thing, they would hire a lot of inexperienced guys and train them into a plumber. And then within like 6 months to a year, with only minimal experience, 6 months to a year, they would throw them in a truck. Oh. So I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of mistakes. So
I can imagine.
I'll go ahead and give you one. The plumbers, they removed the toilet. They were snaking the toilet, right?
Yep.
I think they ran to Home Depot, or no, they were there. So all of a sudden they hear a pop, So the supply, the valve on the copper line just blew off, but they touched it, you know? So they're supposed to get this signature signed before they touch anything. They didn't have that signature signed.
Oh man.
You know, because it's
painful to hear that.
It's a release liability.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you're touching some plumbing, you know, you need to get that signed.
Yeah, that's on you.
And you don't even know, like, after every time that happened, because it happened more than often, you know?
Oh man.
Oh, best believe the meeting was all about that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I can imagine.
So yeah, that sheet, if they would have had a sign, they would have been fine.
Yeah.
But pretty much that water until they ran from, you know, I say maybe a full minute and a half, because they had trouble actually, you know, they didn't have a shutoff valve in front of the house, the old house.
Oh no.
They had to run into the middle of the street and you know, and get to the water line, and then they couldn't crank it by hand, so they have to get the wrench and, you know.
Sure. Well, in a minute and a half of full PSI is a lot of water.
For sure. And it was a hallway restroom. The common wall was the kitchen. So from the hallway to the kitchen. Yeah. And here's the thing, the plumber at the time tried to sweep it under the table. But I mean, yeah, it was good for the homeowner to do his due diligence and go after us, you know, for sure. But yeah, we had to pretty much redo their cabinets.
Yeah.
The flooring.
Yeah, you're gonna do all that.
It was yeah.
So experience matters. You're not using the word, and maybe there's a better word. I'm going to toss out the word to you, and you tell me if this is it too. You seem very intentional about your process and everything. Yeah. Very intentional and very focused. What is that all about?
I just don't like to bring any false expectations to homeowners. You know, I lay it all on the table. Like, hey, listen, your kitchen's damaged. You got continuous floor. It's going to be a process. I'm talking about, like, it could be up to 6 months before you get back in your house. And then they're like, what? Like, yeah, I just got to lay it all on the table. This is how it is. This is how it is. We have to pack out all your furniture. We got to get storage pods in front of your house. It's necessary though. But why kind of, you know, sugarcoat it when you just got to let them know, you know?
That's a special skill set though. Like, I hope you know that. Like, you can say it's experience, but like it takes a specific amount of like grit and determination to also say, you know what, I'm going to have this difficult conversation and I'm going to say this up front. I'm going to be practical, and I'm just going to tell you, like, you kind of have to, you got to be pretty comfortable in your own skin to do that kind of stuff.
So everybody's different. You're going to get homeowners that are just devastated on the whole situation. You're going to get some homeowners that you see it as a blessing in disguise. Like, really, like, you know, because some people's houses can be a little bit, you know, outdated. Yeah. They're, well, we were just going to remodel. Well, you know, now you can get a remodel.
Now you get to winner.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you don't want to make it about that, you know.
Yeah, I know.
But all you can let them know and reassure them is that we're going to take care of it.
Yeah.
And we're going to take care of your situation and make it as comfortable as we can. Yeah. You know, and like every situation is different. So sometimes, you know, and here comes the experience too. Sometimes you got to look at their policy and make sure everything's going to work out for them, because sometimes, you know, they have limited coverage. Sometimes
some exclusions and things that aren't included.
Yeah. So for State Farm, for instance, when you go into a slab leak at State Farm, like a house, somebody that has, you know, you start talking to them, it's a slab leak. Oh yeah, who do you have? Oh, State Farm. You're like, oh God, because they don't cover slab leaks
at all.
They don't.
Interesting.
Yeah, some policies do, and but some of them don't.
If you get like a special rider or something, if you want to have it covered.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know this, so maybe you don't know.
Yeah,
you don't work for State Farm, so.
Yeah, so like if you live on slab, you need to get, you know, and you get State Farm, you need to get some coverage for you know, for burst pipes and slab. Yeah. You know, but yeah, some people just go with their agents and they think like, oh, we're gonna be good. Yep. You got to be careful sometimes. You got to actually know what you're covered for. Yeah. You know, some people, like, you know, some agents, you know, won't get any kind of contents coverage or any kind of, you know, just kind of keep the bill down a little bit. Yeah. I mean, your best thing to do is actually get your own insurance so you can go over it with the person, because they're going to tell you, well, you know, do you want, you know, coverage on your jewelry? Do you want cover on electronics? Yeah. Okay. How much? Yeah. You know, everybody's different. I mean, what if you have a bunch of electronics and what if you don't have no electronics? You're an old person. Yeah. You don't need no coverage for that. Yeah. You know? So, yeah, AAA, sometimes they have a bacteria limit. So you got to be careful when you run into a sewage job yeah. So
I've never heard of a bacteria limit, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah. If it could be 5,000, it could be 10,000, and then when it comes to mold, I mean, the insurance thing expects you to, have x-ray vision and see what's going on in your walls for some reason.
Yeah.
They deny a lot of people off of bad faith.
It's completely unrealistic, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, you have 2 weeks to file a claim.
Yeah.
Mold can grow in 72 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to really look into it and then pretty much say, hey, this has been going on longer than 2 weeks, like a slow seepage,
yeah.
How do you know that?
Yeah.
Nobody knows that.
Yeah.
Obviously if a burst pipe happens, but some people do prolong stuff where they'll see water on the floor and 3 weeks later they want to take care of it.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
It's just everybody's different.
Yeah. So be aware of what you have, be aware of what you get covered for, what you maybe not have coverage for, and then ask good questions, listen good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then people so we try to make it as comfortable as we can during the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So say we're going to do major work at their house. We work with the insurance to get them in a temporary living.
Yeah.
And that could be an Airbnb most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to be a long, 3 months or longer,
yeah,
we want to make it comfortable, especially for a family.
Yeah.
So we tell I let the homeowner know, hey, they might want to just put you in a hotel, but maybe you want to ask for hey, I want to get an Airbnb.
Yeah, an actual house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and some people are okay with living in their living room, and I've had that.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh no, it's just me.
Yeah.
It's just me.
It's almost more inconvenient to go somewhere else than it is to stay in the mess or whatever it is.
Yeah, with loud equipment just blowing.
Yeah.
But the insurance covers a lot. They cover your food expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Say you're doing demo in their kitchen.
Yep.
They cover your food expenses. I mean, don't think you're gonna get stick lobster, breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Yeah.
They cover your electrical bill from the month before and then the month during the process. So, there's a lot of benefits with going through your insurance, but you don't really necessarily want to file a claim right away.
Yeah.
You want somebody to come and assess it to make sure hey, give you some kind of reinsurance. I think we're going to be good on this, but nothing's set in stone until you talk to the insurance.
Well, I want to ask you a couple final questions about you. Just I've asked everybody, and I've got a variety of answers, but they've always been fascinating. The first one is, pretend for a moment that we're in a stadium. There's 100,000 people there, and I hand you a microphone. And you get to thank somebody. Who are you thanking and why?
Whoa, that's a good one. Okay. I got to go back to my kids, man. For real. I got to thank my kids, growing into a father figure for them, and trying to be there. And it's not, it's hard to always be there because me and our ex aren't together, but, just seeing them and their smiles and their faces and being for their soccer game every weekend, just watching them happy, watching them, go play with their friends at the park and stuff like that. I got to give a lot of thanks to my family, my kids. So,
what's your favorite part of being a dad?
Favorite part of being dad is watching them grow, especially during those critical years of their lives, between 3 and 5, and watching them, what their personalities are going to be, how they're going to be. And watching them play with their toys, and, my son, he loves building stuff. And I'm like, man, this guy's going to be a future contractor one day.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, the magnets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He just builds stuff. And I'm like, how did he build that right now?
Yeah, he's going to be great at restoration someday.
Yeah. Well,
look at that kid swing a hammer.
Well, that's the plan. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's so rad. What are the hobbies and interests? You mentioned soccer and building. What other hobbies and interests do they have? Are they like anything else? Are they into music?
My daughter, my 13-year-old daughter, she loves to sing. She loves to sing.
Mm-hmm.
She loves soccer. She's getting really good at it. My middle daughter, she's a fiend for soccer.
Oh, wow.
So she loves it. And then my son, I don't know yet. He's 5. He likes just to run amok and have fun.
That sounds 5 to me.
Yeah.
What about you? What are you interested in? Outside of work and all this we've been talking about, what do you like doing?
what do I like doing? I love football.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm a big football fan. Go Raiders. Sorry, San Diego.
Oh, you and Jason Turner, man.
Yeah, definitely. But obviously, we know that the Raiders, they're not too great. So,
well, I'm gonna say that, but
yeah. But I'm a big Raider fan, sports. So yeah.
So let's pretend you get to have dinner with anyone dead or alive. Who would you have dinner with?
Dead or alive?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I gotta go with my man Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick Lamar. All right. First mention of Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
Why? Why would you choose him?
I've been listening to him before anybody knew about him.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been TDE, so J-Rock. I used to listen to J-Rock before Kendrick Lamar.
Dang, dude.
You know, Absol, Schoolboy Q. So yeah, and then Kendrick Lamar, yeah. I love his music, and honestly, before this whole rap battle thing, you know, it was good music, you know. Yeah. He just had to unleash the beast.
Yeah,
That's it, you know.
When I don't know if you saw it, when I asked Michael Keith the question, he said Tupac. And I said, well, the question was dead or alive, not possibly both.
Yeah, right.
So Kendrick Lamar, that's awesome. What would you want to talk about?
Oh man, I love a lot of his heartfelt music. Honestly, other than like his, you know, his radio hits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a lot of, you know, uplifting music.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people, you know, shy away from that or don't really remember that. But honestly,
sometimes people's best music isn't the one that hits the top of the charts.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's common in a lot of genres too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's cool, man. That's cool. That's a good answer. I've had a lot of the variety of answers here, but that's a good one too.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean,
I know it's hard. I know I kind of like corner you. Like, who would you think? Like, I have like 90 people I think, and who would you want to have dinner with? I don't know, like 40 people.
Yeah, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall during the pyramids. You know.
Oh, that would be cool, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that all happened.
Yeah.
Did they have good indoor plumbing? I don't know.
The Aztecs did.
The Aztecs did.
Yeah.
Who invented the aqueducts, guys? Was that the Romans? Greeks?
Yes.
Who? You don't know? No one knows? We'll have to look it up. The Mayans? The Mayans did aqueducts first? Hey, how about that? Caitlin did sign language, and I picked it up. I guess I know sign language. That's amazing. I think I knew the first letter. I was like, I think she means Mayans. Yeah. Well, anyways. Anthony, thank you for like spending so much time with me today to talk about all this stuff. I mean, we could probably go on. We should probably do this again and go into more of that stuff because your backstory, I know there's a lot more there. I know there's more there we could talk about, and I want to get there too. But I did also want to make sure I focus on the all dry part today. I kind of already knew you're a dad. I know you love your kids. I want you to be able to talk about all that stuff. But I'm really glad you mentioned the experience part and that I'm able to witness your intentionality. I think those two things together are very powerful. So I want to commend you and congratulate you on business success and professional success because it's evident that you've worked hard through all those other stages of life to be here. And I also want to wish you continued success as well.
Definitely. Yeah. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, Andy.
Thank you for being here. So if you are interested in networking with Anthony and myself down at BNI Partners in Excellence, we meet every Wednesday down at the Chula Vista Golf Course in Bonita. That's right, the Chula Vista Golf Course in Bonita, 4475 Bonita Road. Open networking starts at 6:45 in the morning. Official meeting starts at 7. You can click in the link in the description box below to register yourself and your company as a visitor for an upcoming meeting on a Wednesday morning. We look forward to seeing you there. Anthony, thanks again for being on the show. Thank you all for watching. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you again with another great guest next week.